Hi, Renee Young.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
All right, thank you. All right. It's the end of a long week, but I can't complain.
Yes.
Good to be
yes.
busy.
Yeah, of course. I know it's nice to find some stuff to keep us busy. That's for sure.
100%. Can you believe that it's been 5 years since we did a proper, sit down, good chin?
Oh my God. You know what? It's so crazy when you think about how quickly time goes by. I mean, for it to be 5 years, God. And what I've been in WWE coming up on 8 years this fall. Where does this time go? That's almost a decade of my life.
Are you still enjoying it though?
Yes.
Good. Well, that's the main thing. And so I was going to ask you, what has been? Well, firstly, I want to ask you, how is life in lockdown? How are you dealing with it all?
Good. Yeah. I mean, so John and I were spending about a month in Florida, just so that it was easier for us instead of flying back and forth. We were both out of Florida for work, obviously. So we just got back home a week ago today. So last Friday we got home. Yeah, it's always just nice to be back in your own home, that's for sure. But yeah, we've been managing. We've been watching tons of shows, listening to some music. I've been cooking a ton, hanging out with the dogs. So yeah, we're doing all right.
Have you watched The Last Dance?
Yes, I did watch The Last Dance. Plowed through that. Incredible viewing.
I still haven't seen it. I can't wait.
Oh my God! Why have you not seen it yet?
I know, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
You have to. Yeah, I watched that. Watched Dead to Me. Watched Defending Jacob. Big E just got me on a show that maybe you're familiar with called Years and Years.
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
It's a BBC production, but it's
okay.
I just put it on last night, and it's pretty fascinating. It's like a little glimpse into our future.
Have you heard of Normal People?
Yes. Oh, I watched that too.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Did you like that? Watched that. God, I've watched so much. So I really liked it. I don't mind a slow-moving story. I mean, there's not a ton of there's some action, but there's not a lot of fast-paced action.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was beautiful. The ending made me sad, and I wish that it had a bit more of a bam, we're all going to New York moment, but that was not the case.
I know. Yeah, me and the wife have dissected that ending a lot. But,
what was she thinking? Why would you not go with him? You guys are together. You're meant to be together. You guys love each other. And she's just like, nope, you go do your thing and I'm going to stay here. Because she didn't want to leave Ireland?
I think it's more that she didn't want to. She was finally happy with herself. And she knew she could live a happy life without following him to New York.
Yeah.
I guess. But I know what you mean.
Sad.
I know,
yeah, I know. Tragic. Just go together. Be together. Everyone be together.
Well, I'm sure people will be clamoring for a series 2, so I'm sure they'll just make up a second series. Anyway,
I hope so.
On to other stuff. What has been the biggest thing to happen to you since we last did this? Last 5 years. Getting married, I guess, has got to be up there.
Yeah, getting married's definitely up there. In the last 5 years, did we buy our house before then? Buying a house, getting married.
All the grown-up stuff.
I know, but you know what? I like grown-up stuff. I'm into it. I'm also 34, so it's not like I'm like a baby making these decisions. So it's like once you do them, you're like, oh, cool, this is great. I really like it.
Yeah.
And then I guess career-wise, obviously, doing commentary on Raw was a big deal. It definitely was not my favorite career moment, but it was a big moment. And then starting to do the show with Fox, which I adore. I love doing the show with Fox. I cannot wait to get back in the studio with them. We've been doing fine by doing the show like this through Zoom, which has been cool. And I think we've really kind of figured out a system with that and got it down to a good little deal. But I can't wait to get back out to LA and get back in the studio and feel like we're doing a real show. Have guests in person, all that stuff.
Well, I mean, I love Backstage. I want to talk to you more about that show. But before that, I wanted to talk to you about the commentary thing because I remember you and I met up in...
Oh, yeah. Where was that?
Houston. It was Houston.
Well, okay.
It was the Elimination Chamber. And we had a chat. And I remember saying to you, congratulations on the commentary thing on Raw. And I remember you saying, thank you. I think it's going all right. And you were quite unsure about the whole thing. How did it all come about, and what are your sort of reflections on that that time? You must have been pleased you did it, because it's quite an achievement.
Of course. I mean, certainly, I was so happy to be able to have that feather in my cap. I definitely wanted to be the woman to step in to do it. And, I guess I have I don't even want to say it's mixed emotions. I just it wasn't the job for me, and I didn't enjoy it. I always felt stressed out about it. I always just felt like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in over my head. Which made me not perform maybe the best that I could have in that circumstance. But, then having you have a bad show, and then the next show you're like, you know what, F it, whatever. I'm just going to throw everything against the wall. And then you're like, you know what, I like that show. I felt good about that. You have little moments that you're proud of, that you're happy with. But yeah, it was just tough. It was tough, and it was a long year. I went into it very unprepared. I had not been at NXT. I mean, I did commentary at NXT, years prior to that, for a fairly short stint. Yeah. I was not doing it in the time in between that. I wasn't going down there and getting in reps. It just sort of happened that they're like, hey, we want you to fill in on Raw because Coach was going to do something and wasn't going to be able to be there. So I was like, hell yeah, I'll step in and do that. And it went well. Everything went well. I mean, of course, the bar was low. Nobody knew what to expect. Everyone's like, cool, man, she did fine. Then I get offered the full-time job with it. And then I think that's when the pressure started to mount to be like, wait, you don't actually know how to do commentary? I'm like, no, who told you I knew how to do commentary? But it was trying to learn on the fly. And I think trying to learn on the fly in that environment can be a little bit tough because everyone is so busy. It's hard to really get some mentorship and get the help that I probably truly needed. Yeah. So I think that made me feel like I was sort of between a rock and a hard place, where it's like, look, it's not that I don't want to learn, or it's not that I don't want to get better, or that I don't care. That's certainly not the case. It's just trying to find the time to make that happen. It's like we do Raw, then we fly home, and there was a few times that I had been going down to Florida and going down to the Performance Center, and Tom Phillips really was a dude that had helped me as much as he could. We would do Skype calls, and we would watch shows back, watch certain matches back, and he would point stuff out to me. But, just doing commentary is such a science. It's not this free flowing fun thing. It's not like hosting a show, like what I'm used to. It's like, you have to know certain points in the match of when you're about to talk, what kind of things you're going to say. It really isn't just the knee jerk reactionary thing, at least not for me. I was finding the time to speak. I mean, being in a three-man booth, and by the time any airspace opened, I was like, oh, everything's already been said. What am I supposed to say? I don't have ring experience. I've not been in there. Yeah. All I can kind of do is echo other people's sentiments or provide some kind of sound effect. So I don't know.
I don't think people quite appreciate what a skill it is. And I think you did really, really well, but it's a hard gig.
It is a very hard gig. It's such a hard gig. And, obviously we get stuff in our ears during the show, and we talk about stuff during commercial breaks and whatnot. But, yeah, man, I give it up to anybody that does doing commentary in any sport, but especially in WWE, because again, you're not just calling what you see. We're telling a story. We're helping to shape the way that a program is going between two different superstars. So it's trying to weave those stories together and not just calling what you see.
Did you ever get shouted at by Vince?
Oh, yeah. Nothing bad. I mean, there wasn't really, yeah, but nothing, not the horror stories that you hear.
Yeah.
He was pretty tame with me.
Okay, that's good to hear. How do you think WWE are dealing with everything going on? It's sort of unprecedented times. From your point of view, you're obviously not an in-ring performer, so kind of from slightly the outside looking in, how do you think everything is going, and how are the superstars dealing with it all?
Yeah, so I have been back down doing the shows for the past month or so, which is when I really got a good scope, because initially once we realized that WrestleMania was going to be done differently and the shows were all going to be done differently, we're going to be pre-taping a bunch of stuff. I was at home. I wasn't doing stuff on Raw or SmackDown. I was mostly just doing backstage. So I was pretty removed from it. So I think my perspective of it then, from being at home, versus actually getting into it and being at the Performance Center and seeing the talent come together. I think everyone's just doing the best they can. And, I think the initial thought of like, wait, we're not all stopping what we're doing, and what are we doing? What's the safety protocols? What's happening here? I think that everyone's been doing the best that they can to figure this stuff out and be as safe as we can. I mean, I think the addition of having some of the NXT talent as fans in the crowd has made a huge difference. You could tell it even from like morale standpoint from the superstars of that, even them just walking down the ramp and having their matches. We all know that like the WWE universe and the fans are such a huge part of how the show comes together. So I think that that's definitely helped a lot. But yeah, I think the shows have been good. I think that it's changed the way that we do promos even. I thought that we were doing some really great work. Obviously the stuff that Edge was doing, those like straight to camera promos, I think more of that stuff felt cool. It felt different. It felt like we were getting a little bit closer to everything. We were getting like an inside look into like what Edge was going through. And same with Seth, had some great promos. I think Kevin Owens as well. There was just some great moments of sort of stripping everything down and just being as authentic as possible in those moments. And I think even talking to some of those guys and seeing how they had to switch their mindset to do those promos, just breaking out of the system that I think we're also used to of like interviewer comes up and asks you something and then you go into your deal and then you walk off. And I think that kind of changed it up. And I think from the creative aspect of some of the great matches that we've seen, from the Boneyard match, for the Firefly Funhouse match, the way that they did Money in the Bank, I think that stuff has really been cool to be a part of. And I've been able to just watch it from home, which is a cool thing. I mean, I've been there for some of that stuff, but to be able to just be a fan at home and watching it and not knowing how it was going to be and like reading some of the buzz on the internet and what everyone thinks is going to happen, I think everyone was really proud of the work that came together for all those matches.
It's just the levels of intrigue going into pay-per-views and big these cinematic matches. No one knew what was coming, and it's obviously opened lots of creative doors. Everything going on over the last few months. Do you think WWE's changed forever now in terms of the creative possibilities?
I think so, and I think that WWE says they do a very good job of adapting to things and changing stuff on the fly. And we've seen so many different circumstances of that. But I think as far as the way the shows get done now, I mean, who knows when we're going to be back on the road? Who knows when we're going to get to come to London again and do the O2? Like, it's so sad to think that, and that really bums me out because that's one of my favorite parts of the job is being able to travel around and go to these places and meet all these new people. But, I think with these circumstances of being able to adapt and come up with these, doing the fight pit on NXT, there's been some really cool things that have come together that, and I think every time there's a cool match like that, like the Boneyard match, they're like, are we going to see the Boneyard match all the time now? And I don't think that's going to be the case, but I think we'll just find new ways to do these cinematic style matches.
Yeah. And obviously, I want to talk to you briefly about Jon being down south now, and AEW are obviously doing these matches as well, like the Stadium Stampede the other week, which was so much fun. How is life for Jon? I imagine he's loving the sort of the freedom he's getting down there.
Yeah, he loves that. He's having a great time there. He's sort of in the same boat that he misses having fans there. He, as a performer, he thrives off of a crowd's reaction. So I think that's a big thing that he's missing. I know he was really happy with his work that he had with Brody during their match at the last pay-per-view. And yeah, it's been good. He's been very, very happy there.
And he put something on social media. There was his bruised tailbone. Which, that looked nasty.
I would just like to say that it's worse now.
Really?
It's horrible. It looks really bad. Yeah. I'm like, should we go get like an x-ray? Yeah, it looks bad. Poor guy.
But what so many people picked up on when he posted that photo was the state of his back and the scars and the wars he's been through.
I'm so used to seeing that I don't even notice it anymore. But I saw that to people being like, "Oh my God, what the hell?"
But I wanted to ask you about that. Like, obviously, you're his wife. Does it? And I think about the match he had with Kenny Omega in particular, which was fairly hardcore, and it's something we don't really see a lot of in WWE. But how does that make you feel as you watch him do those kind of matches? Does it bother you?
I'm torn between that. It doesn't bother me. There's some things that I'm watching like between my fingers like this because I'm like nervous to see what's going to happen next. But that's the outlet that he's chosen. It's the thing that he loves to do, and I know that he does all those things as safely as he possibly can. So I mean, I trust him. I trust the other performers that he's in the ring with doing those things. So it's a thing that makes him happy. And yeah, there's days that I'm like, hey, we should set up a Epsom salt bath and maybe go to cryotherapy and maybe get a masseuse in here. But he's a tough guy. He's going to do what he wants to do. So it makes him happy.
He certainly is a tough guy. He certainly is a tough guy.
Ridiculous. Unless there's like a bug in the house, then the tides change a little bit.
I really okay, that's interesting. That's good to know. But okay, yeah. So what freaks him out? Bugs, snakes, bugs, like wildlife that could be predatory. Like we're on like a hike and there's like a sound, he moves very fast. Okay. I didn't expect that.
He likes to do a lot of research into like bobcats and jaguars and stuff just to like see where they are. I mean, even when we were staying in Jacksonville, he's like, jaguars actually live here, and we were like looking into it. They don't.
Okay, good to know. Let's talk backstage. Okay. Just the like dream job for you, right? Especially going from commentary, and you're just in your wheelhouse. You're able to be a host. It's still related to WWE. Your personality shines through. I love the show. How has the experience been? And how did it come about? Was it always kind of built for you?
I mean, I think so, without me sounding like it's my show. But
you're so arrogant now, Renee. So arrogant.
But that was sort of what the conversation was. I had been talking to some of the guys over at Fox as we were kind of figuring it all out. And I think that I was always kind of waiting to be like, I'm doing the show, right? Like I thought that's what we were doing. And then when they're like, yeah, decisions are everything's final. You're doing the show. And I found that out at Royal Rumble last year.
Okay.
When we were in Phoenix. Because we all went out and cheered some margaritas in the afternoon, which was lovely. Yeah, so having that show come together, and then once we started doing some of the chemistry tests to see who else was going to be on the show, I was a very big advocate for having Booker on there. I love that dude, and I love having we've got a cool chemistry between the two of us. We've worked together for a long time, and I think that he gets underutilized in a lot of roles too, and he has so much to say, and he has so much knowledge to bestow upon all of us. So I think giving him that platform is great. Also, he's the kind of person that you literally can't go anywhere with without people being like, oh my God, it's Booker T. Like, unlike anybody else I've ever walked around with. It's hilarious.
And also because of his personality, I guess he's sort of quite uncontrollable, and as a host would keep you on your toes a bit.
A little bit, or like, yeah, sometimes he might say something and I'm like, oh damn.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like old reliable in a way that I know if there's like, okay, we've got to say something about X, Y, and Z, I know he's going to have an answer, and it'll be something clever or charming or whatever. I mean, he's always reliable in that sense. He's never going to not have something to say, ever. Hope I didn't just jinx him. Yeah. But it was so cool getting in there. And when we first started putting the show together, we would literally just sit on these orange chairs as we were like cycling through people to see who worked. And honestly, everyone that came through was incredible. But I think that's just like a testament to how WWE is and what their talent is like. Everyone's super talented. So you put someone in a different scenario, and a lot of people really thrive in that. So it made decisions pretty hard, which is why we have such a rotating cast so often. We didn't want to just have a hard cast. But then seeing like the studio come together, and then building the ring, putting that all together, the lighting, seeing how big the crew was there, having like an entire like wardrobe department. I have like a dressing room. It's so different from what I was used to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been an awesome experience, and the producers there are great. They come up with some really great content for us, and they make everything so easy for us. It's easy. Like I almost feel like bad that it's so easy. I'm like, should this be harder for me to do something else? But it's so good. I love it.
It's like, I mean, so, as a producer, I watched that show, and I can just see it's a very tight, well-made, well-constructed show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of one of my favorite hours of the week when it comes to WWE.
Well, it's fun. I mean, even this past week when we had Punk and Brian on, and we were doing like, okay, we're going to do this interview with Brian. And by the time we were done our interview with him, we'd gone 15 minutes. Obviously, we did not have that time in the show for that interview, but there was so much stuff that we still hadn't even got to. So they were really cool. They're like, you know what, let's record more and we'll just release the whole thing online later. And it was like 26 minutes worth of content. And again, I mean, we could have gone forever. When you get Brian and Punk together, you get some great content. So it's cool.
I want to talk to you about Punk. Obviously, a huge deal, him coming back to anything WWE related. Everyone's sort of assuming that it's maybe his bridge back into the ring eventually. Does he ever, I know you're quite close to him, does he ever talk about it? Do you think that is on the horizon?
The closest I'd heard to him saying anything remotely into dabbling into the wrestling world again was literally when we were on with Brian this week. And Brian said to me, he's like, oh my God, it's so cool to see you back in this world in any way, just dipping your toe, whatever. And Punk was like, well, I'm dipping my toe, but I still know how to swim. So I was like, oh, what does that mean? But no, I think he's quite content in the role that he's in now, but who knows? I mean, that's the skill that he's the best at, I mean, I can imagine how much he misses it, but yeah, I don't know. I would love to see him step back in the ring. I would definitely co-sign. I embrace it.
Yeah. Raw Talk returned this week.
Yep.
Talking Smack. What's going on? Come on. Is it going to come back anytime soon? Are those conversations happening?
I wish very much that Talking Smack was coming back. Because that was one of those moments in my career. I mean, I don't even know how long we did Talking Smack for. It wasn't that long.
It wasn't that long.
But it was impactful. And it just had such a cool feel to it. And I think it was just, there was such an authenticity to it. And it's very rare that we get to do a show where like, hey, we're doing a show immediately after SmackDown or immediately after pay-per-view. I would talk to Mike Mansouri, who used to be a producer at WWE, who's incredibly talented. So he would be the main producer I'd be working with. I would get together with Brian at some point, but usually it was like, I'd be watching the show and write down like, okay, we should probably talk about this. We should probably talk about this, maybe this. This is who our guest is going to be. But there was so much stuff that just happened that we were unprepared for. And I love that. I love that unpreparedness that I think makes really interesting moments.
Yeah,
and we saw
100%.
We saw so many great moments of talent being able to come on and cut their teeth a little bit, because it's not easy to go on Raw or SmackDown and go do the promo that you were going to do or test out stuff for your character. And I think that was the thing that Talking Smack was so great at, was helping people figure out their character, how to talk like their character, behave like their character in circumstances that maybe they wouldn't normally get to do on Raw or SmackDown. And then getting to further storylines. Obviously the one with Miz was a huge moment. But yeah, I wish that we were doing that show, but I don't think that that's going to happen.
Okay. Well, at least you get the live buzz of Backstage, which is great.
Yeah, I get my fix. And I don't know, maybe I'll just like bombard Raw Talk and see what happens.
I think you probably should. I think
I should too. I should.
What's been your most embarrassing moment on live TV?
Oh gosh. Probably when Road Dogg tried to get me to sing Be My Baby Tonight, and I didn't know the words.
I totally forgot about that.
It was so bad because he came up to me. I'm like, no, Road Dogg, leave me alone. And I remember looking over and Graves just goes, ha, 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 finger point, laughing in my face. Cole's like laughing at me too. Yeah, I got roasted for that one.
Absolutely embarrassed yourself there.
Yeah, I did.
How dare you not know the words to that song?
Don't think I didn't look it up after that.
I'm gonna
ask me to sing it now.
I'm gonna pull that clip up and put it on social media very, very quickly. McMahon's, which one is your go-to? Is there a
Steph.
McMahon who's Steph? I remember being at I think it was like, I'll tell you exactly where it was. It was Hell in a Cell a few years ago, because we were doing our documentary thing. And I remember looking over the arena, it was before the show, and you and Steph were just kind of deep in conversation. And it seemed like you were having such a nice chat. And so has she given you kind of a lot of guidance at, because she's been on TV since she was or 18, 19, something like that.
Yeah, since she was a kid. Steph has always been great. You know, we everyone knows she's such an advocate for women in WWE, and I think that her and I have a really interesting relationship that you know, when I first started in WWE too, there really wasn't a lot of other girls like me doing that job. There's definitely a lot more now. But I think talking to her about kind of carving out what my path was going to be and figuring out what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be within WWE, she was always a great ear and definitely somebody to bounce ideas off of and get different advice from. But she is so like, for such a busy woman, and she is like jam packed, like puts in time to be like such a exceptional mother, wife, being the chief brand officer for WWE. I mean, she's got a loaded plate. But you pass Steph in the hallway and are like, hey, can I talk to you about something? She always gives you her time. But it's not just like, yeah, tell me about it. Like, she wants to know about it. She wants to hear about it. Like, she just gets very engaged in stuff. And I think that's very encouraging for people that want to have a conversation with her. You don't feel like you're stealing time from her or that you're a burden in any way. And I've always really appreciated that.
That's awesome. And I guess, and also with Becky now gone from TV for a while to be a mum, which is awesome. Does that, like, I remember a few years ago we were chatting and you were saying about, you know, you're not sure about family and kids yet, you're not at that stage, but now I think things have progressed so much and you can just sort of, as a woman in WWE, you can just go, right, see ya for a while. Are you looking forward to that
encouraging
stage?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, very, very much so. Yeah, you know, I think it's funny. Like, I think once that time kind of rolls around, it seems like everyone's like, I'm pregnant. It's like it seems to be everywhere. But yeah, it definitely is very much. It definitely is an encouraging time to be like, you know what? I don't feel like if I were to get pregnant that I'm going to lose my job or that I'm going to be this. You know, I'm not going to be able to be on TV or anything like that. I feel like that feeling is completely washed away, and that's very nice.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it can be hard. It's like you spend so much time putting together your career, and you know, I think you always feel like as a woman, you feel like you have to work that much harder than everybody else. I mean, just with everything, you're trying to get that spot, trying to maintain looking a certain way, et cetera, that to feel like, you know what? F it. I'm a grown ass woman. And if I have a baby and I put on a couple pounds, so be it. It doesn't take away from my talent or what I'm bringing to the table here. So it's cool to have that for sure.
100%.
So look out, everybody. I'm coming in hot.
Yeah. Mama Renee. Which WWE superstars do you love watching? Not like as someone on the job, but just as a fan. You know, I know you've got a lot of respect for this business, having been in it, as you say, for nearly 8 years now. Who would you watch on TV and think they are just awesome?
Gosh, let's see. I mean, Asuka, 100%. I am fascinated by Asuka.
Totally,
I think
totally
she's
hilarious.
Incredible.
Totally hilarious as well.
She's hilarious, but like she'll kick the crap out of anyone. Like, she is such a badass. I love watching her in the ring. I love watching promos of hers. I love watching her like YouTube series that she does. I think she's incredible. Bayley is another one that I just adore her so much. I see all the work that she puts in, and she's so passionate.
So much renewed confidence as well with Bayley.
Yeah, it's great. You know, it's the people that you know just that like live and breathe this business, and you see people take those opportunities and really thrive in those moments. Of course, Daniel Bryan is one of those guys. I mean, watching the clinics that he can put on. You know, John and I were watching WrestleMania, and we're like, I feel like no one's really talking about this Daniel Bryan Sami Zayn match because it was incredible. I thought it was really great. I loved watching that. I thought that they really told a great straight up wrestling story with no audience. And that was like when we were just really getting used to the whole no audience thing. And I thought they did an excellent job. Sami Zayn's another one. I love that dude. It's hard for me to say. It's like, you think of the people that are like your friends, like he's someone that's like a good friend of mine, but I know him just as like Sammy, we'd like shoot the shit backstage or whatever. And then when I see him step out in this Sami Zayn character and see some of the wacky things he does, it cracks me up. It makes me laugh every time. Like him just like selling something that hurts with an ow as a heel is endlessly funny to me. Ow! It would crack me up.
That
So
is,
ridiculous.
I think he's
And
one of the greatest all-round performers in
I think
WWE.
he's exceptional. And then the other one I think has to be Randy Orton, because he just oozes confidence. He's literally tailor-made for this, and he just gets better and better and better. I feel like every year it's like Randy Orton's at his peak right now, and then like the next year, this is the best Randy Orton. No, this is the best Randy Orton. So I think he's somebody that's just in a league of his own entirely.
Yeah. Finally, just to wrap it up, what do you think is next for you? What's next for Renee Young on the horizon?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure. As much as there's so many things that I want to be ambitious about and things that I want to do, the way that the world is going right now, it's honestly really hard to make plans and come up with ideas. Like, there's a ton of things that I would love to do. There's a million different shows that I would love to host and be a part of. And that's the weird thing with having all this time on your hands. You want to be productive, to be like, what should my next thing be? What can I work on? And it feels a little bit stagnant trying to get those wheels in motion again. Because what am I going to email someone and reach out to connect while all this craziness is going on? Just feels a little odd. So I don't know. I'm just going to start cooking some stuff online, and maybe I'll go do a show at the Food Network. Who knows?
One day.
A lot of cooking in my life. Yeah.
How's the cookbook?
I don't know.
How's the cookbook going?
Really well. Yeah, really well.
Awesome.
Yeah, getting close to being done. I've got about 10 more recipes. I'm actually having some friends over for dinner tonight. I'm doing I marinated in this like herb blend, a roast fillet, and then I'm going to do herb infused mashed potatoes. I made a jalapeno popper mac and cheese. These things are not meant to go together. The mashed potatoes and the fillet do. But there's a bunch of random stuff because I just need to test out these recipes on some friends. So
random stuff is
hopefully
good.
They show up hungry. Hopefully.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That sounds good. Okay, well, Renee, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope it won't be another 5 years until we do this again.
What the heck? Especially when we can do this. Let's go.
Yeah.
Come on.
All right. Okay. Well, Renee, thanks for your time. And I'll see you hopefully in the flesh soon.
I hope so.
Cheers, dude.
Bye.